Tonight, protesters taking to the streets here in Indianapolis.
Black lives matter. Black lives matter. Only when someone's killed.
And in cities from coast to coast.
It should matter every day.
Now at 11. The message those marching want you to hear.
This is breaking news from RTV6, working for you.
Indianapolis among several American cities dealing with fallout from the recent death of George Floyd, a Minneapolis man who died in police custody. You're looking live right now at pictures in downtown Indianapolis where police are trying to disperse crowds. Like last night, the protests have turned violent with police having to use tear gas on those protesters. Things started to spiral out of control just over an hour ago. This is video from our photojournalist right in the thick of it. A fire set in the middle of Pennsylvania Street. Thank you so much for joining us tonight at 11. I'm Nicole Griffin.
And I'm Rafael Sanchez from my temporary home studio as we continue to social distance. Our city tonight is in crisis. Tonight, voices demanding action, demanding justice. At the same time, businesses are being vandalized. Tensions are high for the second straight night here in the Circle City. Let me take you outside right now to show you what is happening in Indianapolis. Tear gas in many sections of the downtown area. For the second night, police are having to deal with protesters, in many cases, who have gotten out of hand. The police turned to that tear gas to get the crowds to leave and just break them up and move them out of downtown Indianapolis. There are reports right now, Nicole, I just got a couple of calls of fires in the downtown area, as well as people shattering windows to vehicles and businesses. It is quite dangerous in this section of downtown. This is exactly what the mayor and police chief were hoping would not happen. They did not want to see this tonight. Even local clergy urged for a peaceful demonstration, but those calls, Nicole, were ignored.
In Raphael, our Kelsey Anderson begins our team coverage tonight. Kelsey, you've been in the thick of these protests all day long. How are these protesters reacting to tonight's event so far, and what are you seeing at this hour? Hey, Nicole, so we have talked to several protesters who are walking by us as we're standing kind of back away from the action now after having some tear gas and pepper bullets kind of come in our area. So protesters, a lot of them are upset that this happened because they wanted to come out here for a peaceful protest. And it was peaceful for the first 7 hours. I would say it started about 2 o'clock. That's when we got out here. There was a couple protesters on the circle. They marched around the city for 7 hours. In groups of hundreds, maybe even thousands of people out here marching, trying to get their message across that Black Lives Matter. But then here on Market Street in Delaware, right around 9 o'clock outside the CCB, that's when things turned violent. We'll send it to the side of earlier today when we were live streaming all the events.
We plan on staying peaceful all night. We're not breaking down anything. Plan on staying as peaceful as possible. With that being said, if things get outrageous, hopefully they'll die down.
Where, as you can see here, we've got police in gas masks, and they've got their masks on. They just got on the intercom saying this is no longer a peaceful protest. Things did get a little out of hand right here, but the organizers did move everyone down to a different street. But as you can see, there are still some people here talking with police, yelling at police, trying to get everything. People are running. Okay. They are shooting. Mike, get back. Mike, get back. They are shooting now. Mike, get back. Go. There's someone arrested already. So that was a look from earlier today around 9 o'clock, again, just 2 hours ago. And things right here on this street where things started up at 9 o'clock have settled down. But on other streets, Pennsylvania, Raphael showed you earlier, there were fires. But looking down the alley now, I see that has kind of settled down a little bit. It looks like cars are now going down that street. But police are still out here, and they are still active today. But also out here with me today, starting today at 2 o'clock, was our colleague, my colleague, Megan Sanctorum. She's over at the War Memorial with an update for you.
Yeah, Kelsey, that's right. We're at the War Memorial right now, and it was pretty quiet. We actually moved north a little bit ago for safety reasons. And if you take a look, you can see the protest is actually moving up Pennsylvania. This is Indiana State Police. You can see them over there. So we were a couple blocks south of it. Oh, there are people running right behind us. We may need to step out of the way. So we're standing right behind our car right now. You can see Indiana State Police right in front of the War Memorial. There are some protesters across the street on Pennsylvania. That's what you're looking at right now. So this is a little bit north of where all of that action was earlier. And like I was saying, we actually moved north for safety reasons because we were kind of getting in the middle of a couple of very tense groups. We kept getting tear gassed and we just moved out of the way here. And now it looks like some of the crowd is starting to move north. This isn't a super huge group. I'd say maybe 20 or 30 people over there. We'll stay out here, though, and keep watching this situation. We'll bring you updates as we get them. Reporting live, Megan Sanctorum, RTV6.
Megan, thank you so much. This does remain a fluid, breaking news, developing story. I can tell you that while Megan was talking, I was getting here at my location reports of now damage to the Whole Foods in downtown Indianapolis, as well as looting at the TJ Maxx on Illinois Street, as well as police cars having their windows shattered on Georgia Street, and even more damage being reported to businesses on Monument Circle. In fact, our Troy Washington spoke to some shop owners on Monument Circle earlier today, and they can't even begin to comprehend what is going on.
At least 30 businesses barely scraping by because of the COVID-19 pandemic, now shaken by this. Broken glass and looting made moving forward even more difficult.
This is devastating, and how do you recover from this? We were already 2 months behind.
It took the light of day to reveal the damage left behind after protesters took to the streets of Indianapolis, angry about the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis.
I don't know what the answer is, but this is not the answer. Destroying our downtown, destroying anything is not the answer.
It's especially hard to process for those who had to watch things unravel. Chris Carnavis is the owner of Jack's Donuts. He's closed today, cleaning up his shop. Last night, he watched helplessly as people stole from his store and broke out his windows.
It was like being in a war zone. I mean, there was, they were pepper spraying the whole entire downtown. I mean, there was fires everywhere, alarms going off, windows are being broken, stuff's being, turned upside down. I mean, this is just ridiculous.
Other shop owners are just as afraid.
There was a situation that was unjust. A man died, was murdered that shouldn't have been. If this continues, his death will go, there'll be no reason for it. Nobody will remember that name.
Window repair companies worked quickly to repair the damage, wondering if they'll be right back where they started tomorrow. Working for you downtown, Troy Washington, RTV6.
Troy, there is more damage downtown. There will have to be more to be repaired in the days to come. Mayor Joe Hogsett has promised to help those businesses impacted by the vandalism. He says he will help them rebound. That's what's happening in Indianapolis. But let me take you coast to coast to show you what is happening tonight all across America. Tonight, but first, let me take you to Johnson County. While some businesses are cleaning up damage caused by Friday night's protest, others boarded up in hopes of preventing damage. This is how the Greenwood Park Mall looked much of the day. The mall closed early today to recent events. The mall, of course, here in Johnson County. Greenwood police telling RTV6 that closing early and boarding up the storefronts was the mall's decision. Now from Johnson County to across America, as we're seeing clashes between the public and police around the country. Protests began in Minneapolis following the Monday death of George Floyd after a police officer pressed his knee on Floyd's neck for more than 8 minutes. The anger and outrage spread into other cities from coast to coast. Minneapolis is one of more than a dozen cities under curfew tonight. This is the second night of curfew for that city alone. But like last night, many people have ignored it, and the protests have turned violent. And that violence has seen a chain reaction. Protesters in New York City set fire to barricades in the middle of a street. Others just jumped over the flames. Also, several police and other vehicles were set on fire. Chaos in Chicago. Protesters were seen overturning a vehicle. Several people were throwing bottles, climbing onto cars, and damaging property. Officers took multiple people into custody. And protesters were back in the streets of Los Angeles. Several police cars were torched. People could see plumes of just black smoke rising into the sky from various locations. Los Angeles police have arrested more than 500 people so far.
In Raphael, tonight we are hearing from several community leaders who say the protests that we are seeing across the entire country are a result of several decades of frustration. And leaders say people are simply at a point where they are exploding.
So this is not just about the broken glass that you see downtown. This is about people whose spirits have been broken,
who have been feeling that there has been a knee on their throat forever.
A group of community leaders, part of the African American Coalition of Indianapolis, and legislators they work with closely, took time Saturday to discuss the bigger issues leading to protests like this one in Indianapolis.
Because we have a younger generations that know nothing but struggle, challenges, and poverty, and they get to see the inequities firsthand. None of us has ever seen a white person choked out or killed by the police on video. We've never seen that.
Underneath the anger and frustration, leaders say there are economic issues that are very real.
People don't have access to good jobs. They're living in unstable, substandard housing, don't have access to the necessities. And so people are looking for more than just meetings and discussions now. They're looking for very real, substantive actions, policies, things that are designed to help everyone. And I think the city has to understand is that this is not just a black issue.
The African American Coalition of Indianapolis has taken initiative to prioritize their own agenda. There are 5 key issues.
We have police reform and community violence. We're working on affordable housing, education reform, particularly the racial achievement gap, food insecurity, and then black business development.
They are working closely with legislators, but say this isn't just something politicians or government officials can fix.
What I would like to see is everyone just take a look in the mirror and say, what am I doing to suppress African Americans, people of color, whether if it's in my job, whether if it's in my community, and how can I take a personal accountability, a spiritual accountability to help and assist to make our community better.
Until the larger community feels it has a dog in the fight and speaks out for greater equity in healthcare, more employment for and training, supporting the training that is going on with police, it will remain the same.
The coalition says they have made some progress with the use of force boards supported by the IMPD police chief and Indianapolis mayor, making sure citizens are represented, but there is still a lot of work ahead.
We're at a turning point for the city right now. We got to make some tough decisions and some very real commitments. What are we going to do?
And the leaders you just heard from say it's encouraging to see a diverse group of protesters on the streets in Indianapolis, not just black protesters. And this is another live look in downtown Indianapolis as police work to disperse those crowds of protesters at this hour. You're watching RTV6 News at 11. Coming up right after this break, we will check in back live with our Kelsey Anderson. Stay with us.
Tools.
Hey, this is Kelsey Anderson with WRTV6. We're here at the corner of Market in Delaware. This is where those riots, or where it got violent here. That's at the very beginning at 9 o'clock. But if you look down here, there's police activity now coming this way. Tear gas was just dispersed and it's kind of wafted its way down here. But as you can see, still very active down here in Indianapolis. Police have gone back and forth all night. We've seen IMPD officers on horses, on gators, in their cars, on foot. We've seen them everywhere, going in every which direction. So what has happened is when that large group of protesters dispersed here at Market in Delaware, they've all made their own smaller protests, and that's what's happened. And now they're having to go to all these several locations. So just over on the other street, Pennsylvania, we saw fires earlier. They've built barricades with trash cans and several different things. So still a very active scene here in Indianapolis. So we'll be sure to continue to update you on what's going on here. But for now, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Kelsey, thank you so much. A very tough night in Indianapolis. We will keep on top of the breaking news, not only here on RTV6, but also online on the RTV6 app and the IndyChannel.com. For the second night, the city of Indianapolis is on edge. Protests, which the mayor hoped would end at 7, did not. Tonight, Call 6 Investigates has new details of the people arrested and the damage caused on that first night. The first night of the demonstration left a trail of damage in the heart of Indianapolis. Photographer Sean Byram captured these images of what began as a peaceful protest and led some protesters to clash with police. Among those arrested were people who live in North Carolina, Terre Haute, Liston, and Connorsville. People black and white, male and female. The damage to businesses? Expensive. The Sheraton Hotel downtown lost a window. The people who broke it posted that video on Facebook. The building at 30 South Meridian Street saw about $20,000 in vandalism. The Finish Line inside the mall was looted out of more than $40,000 in merchandise. And Twin Jewelers is out tens of thousands of dollars. Their entire inventory taken. These are snapshots of chaos in the capital city, snapshots of people frustrated and furious, people angry with the state of race relations, anxious with the slow progress, all emerging in the city and the state that prides itself on Hoosier hospitality. Among the people arrested on the first night, at least 2 of them had weapons seized during that protest. Most people arrested tonight and last night are facing multiple charges, including looting, rioting, or disorderly conduct charges. In some cases, they're facing all of those combined. Our coverage continues on the RTV6 app. You're watching RTV6 Indianapolis.
.org.
After a bit of a sultry week, the weekend is turning out very nice. We've got temperatures today that made their way into the lower 70s. Right now, we sit at 64 degrees. That humidity is just 56%, courtesy of a northeast wind. And temperatures tonight dropping already into the 50s in Richmond at 58, 57 for you in Greencastle, and 59 in the Crawfordsville area. There's that area of high pressure coming through out of Canada. It's bringing us clear skies and that lower humidity, and that's going to continue right on into tomorrow. And with the clear skies out there tonight, we'll actually see some locations dropping back into the 40s across northeastern portions of Indiana as we get around Peru. 46, 48 degrees tomorrow morning in Richmond, and 51 in the city in Lafayette. Heading out for that morning run. Great weather. You are good to go there, and really all day long. Another spectacular day here. After a little bit of a cool start, we got a lot of sunshine, and that May sun is still pretty powerful, so don't forget the sunscreen as those temperatures make their way through the 60s to around 70 for that afternoon high. 67 for you in Marion, 69 in the Kokomo area, so temperatures are a little cooler than what they should be for this time of year. Our average high is 77. We'll be at an even 70 in the city, 71 in Shelbyville, Connorsville in the upper 60s and lower 70s around Spencer and Seymour, both at 72 degrees. Those temperatures start to warm up a little bit here as we get into the week ahead. 74 degrees Monday afternoon as we'll increase the clouds a little bit. That wind turns out of the south, but it's going to be a dry day for us, and those temperatures really start to surge as we get toward the middle of the week. Look at Tuesday afternoon, 87 degrees, and some locations could get right around 90 as we go into Wednesday before things cool down temporarily on Thursday. So with the heat and the humidity, that return of the daily chance of showers and thunderstorms also coming back in the forecast, but I don't think that's going to happen until we get into the second half of our Wednesday. This is noon Wednesday on TrueCast. You notice the cloud cover. There's that rain that starts to kind of set up shop here, and we could again have some heavy rainfall, some downpours, and certainly we'll monitor the situation for any severe weather potential here as we go forward and into the next several days. Speaking of, let's take a look at your 7-day planning forecast, and those temperatures can't really be beat here as we get ready to wrap up the month of May. 70 degrees with sunshine tomorrow. And again, the humidity is going to remain very low. Lots of sunshine again on Monday at 75. There's where temperatures really start to take off. And not only are we going to notice it in the afternoons, but those overnights getting warmer as well. We're back only in the 60s by Tuesday morning. That'll set us up for that afternoon high of 87. And then as we work our way here into the second half of the week, that's where things get a little more active. Again, it doesn't look like washouts at this point, but rain chances at least going to about 30 to 40% Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And that's not coming through with a cold front, because look at next weekend. We should be dry on Saturday, but it is still going to be very summer-like with those high temperatures still approaching 90 degrees. The news at 11 will be right back. Together.
I'm Kelsey Anderson, live downtown as police continue to try to make it a safe place for everyone to be in. IMPD tweeting out, downtown is not safe at this time, and residents are advised to avoid the area. So let me walk you through what happened today. The protest started around 2 o'clock, and then we took several laps around Indianapolis from 2 to 7 o'clock, walking around with protesters. I don't know if you can hear that right now. Some kind of shots being fired. We know that they've been shooting off tear gas and rubber pellets and things like that. So what you're seeing right now is officers running to their cars. This has kind of been the epicenter where they all have meeting up, and right there is where it all started. That is where the protest turned violent, right here at the corner of Market in Delaware. And we did talk to several people today who said this will stay peaceful because that's how they wanted it to be. But of course, once a few people get involved, things escalate very quickly, and that's what happened here. Police were, from what we heard from our crew on the other side of the street, was that someone was throwing fireworks at police officers, and that is when they shot back with their tear gas and their rubber pellets and things like that. So still, things are pretty active down here. Again, IMPD saying this is not a safe area to be in. Do not come down here. What they're having to deal with is that large protest dispersed, and now there's small protests around the city happening right now. But that's what we're looking at right now. But for now, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Kelsey, thank you so much for your coverage tonight, and we do have much more on this weekend's protest here in Indianapolis and across the country right now on the IndyChannel.com and the RTV6 News app. You can see our live streams in real time on events as they unfold, and also look at other stories, pictures, and videos about this developing story. And tonight, Governor Eric Holcomb is also weighing in on Friday's violent protests. The governor saying in a statement, in the days ahead, peaceful assembly will be important if we are able to make progress. Violence and vandalism will set us back in our shared desire to resolve differences. Kyle.
And Nicole, another check of that 7-day forecast. Beautiful weather tomorrow. We got some sunshine out there, 70 degrees. We'll be in the mid-70s on Monday, and we're going to keep it dry here the next several days. That next chance for some rain coming our way the second half of Wednesday with that summer heat.
Kyle, thank you so much. Raphael, thank you for your coverage tonight. Thank you, everyone at home, for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Have a great night.